The peace of Christ be with you. This is Father Tom with our Memorial Day weekend video bulletin. As we started to discuss last week with Bishop Arris's letter and with what's been happening recently in the news, restrictions on gatherings are being lightened up a bit as we enter a new phase in addressing the pandemic. Your parish staff and clergy have formed a committee to talk about how do we implement the new guidelines and stay socially safe when permission is given. And we do have a plan, one part of the plan beginning already, that we're going to start live streaming our Mass at 5 o'clock on Saturday, so people can start viewing then. And that way it's available all Sunday, no matter what hour you would wish to participate by viewing that Mass. This will couple with other ideas about how to give out communion and things like that, that will be ready to open up to the degree restrictions allow as soon as the permission is given. Something kind of nice that happened in our parish last week involving the Schools of Saint Dominic was the faculty, staff, the families figured out a way to kind of honor and celebrate our seniors with a senior send-off, modified from how it was in past years. This year it mostly consisted of a car parade where our seniors drove down Anstis in front of the chapel and in front of the schools to applause and fanfare from all of us who are so proud of their accomplishments. Thinking about the way they are wrapping up their career here at St. Dominic's reminds me of how our storied history has included other classes that have had to deal with emergencies. Most particularly, I think back to the war years, World War II years in particular. And recently I went back and looked at the yearbook from that senior class. How heroic that greatest generation seemed, some of whom still live here in the parish. And being reminded of them by the lesser but still important hardships being faced by this year's seniors and graduates from 8th grade too, how they're graduating with restrictions. I thought it would be nice for Memorial Day weekend to let the voices, the living young voices of some of this year's graduates, give voice to, in remembrance of that greatest generation towards the end of World War II, our St. Dominic's Bayhawks of the past.
Graduation slowly approaches, and we, the class of 45, will hereafter be referred to as alumni of St. Dominic's. It is our wish that we trod with undaunted courage on the path so commendably established by former graduates. This is the last time that we will have the privilege of bringing to you our review of yesterday's scholars of our alma mater, and so.
Captain Nicholas Nonnenmacher, class of 1937 USA, is recuperating at Camp Dix, New Jersey. The captain was injured while bailing out of a ship after an engagement with the enemy over France.
Peter Mallon, class of 42, was recently honored with a discharge from the U.S. government for wounds suffered in battle.
Daniel Martin, 44, who was recently in a Paris hospital for treatment of shrapnel wounds, is confined there a second time for treatment of an attack of jaundice.
Helen Kelly Wave has gone to Hawaii to carry on her mission of mercy attending the sick and wounded under the swaying palms.
With hope and prayers that the fine young men and women we are sending out in 2020 will carry on and add to the great contributions of the brave and generous and talented of classes past, I've asked Brendan Umbert, the valedictorian for the class of 2020, to give voice to the editor of this journal.
It is with a mingled feeling of sadness and of joy that we, the class of 1945, leave the life at St. Dominic's. Sadness is ours because we have come to the parting of the ways. Joy is ours because we have attained a goal. We now bid a reluctant farewell to high school days, and we sail into the stormy sea of life. Our greatest asset is our Catholic education. During these past yet unforgettable years, our good teachers have unceasingly expended their efforts toward the true shaping of our minds, our hearts, and our spirits. In us, they have planted the seed of Christian knowledge. It is for us to bring it to a fuller bloom as we grow older. Wherever we go, we must live up to the Catholic principles taught us. We are to be part of a post-war world, and our task will be difficult. This catastrophic war in which we have been engaged since that faithful day of December 7th, 1941, is being waged to establish a better world. That world will have need of leaders, leaders guided by Christian moral principles. That is our calling. Our fulfilling of this task in decent and honorable Christian manner will be proper tribute to the loving care given us. May we, therefore, ever exemplify the standards of Christ to our fellow man. Let the star of the sea be our guiding beacon and our sea of life. Now, as one by one we take leave of Saint Dominic's, each of us is filled with gratitude and appreciation for his finished task. We say to our teachers, the priests, and the sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, goodbye. Our prayers are with you. Until we meet again, God bless and keep you.
God bless Brandon and all the class of 2020. And perhaps we'll wrap up this bulletin with those words of inspiration from students past and present of St. Dominic's. Just to remind you again to keep your eyes and ears open, as we will be announcing whenever we get the word the steps we'll be taking towards reopening. Happy Memorial Day.